Let me just begin by saying that I would not be here except for the fact that the Republican Party did not choose to nominate Congressman Ron Paul for their candidate for president. I supported Congressman Paul aggressively and actively. I use my syndicated columns that I write on his behalf. I campaigned for him in Iowa. I campaigned for him in South Carolina. And had he won the Republican nomination for president, I would still be supporting him. I would not be here today. I was thrilled, and unexpectedly so, that here just recently he did endorse me for president this year. I'm honored by that. I didn't expect it. I'm very humbled by it. I'm here because I believe that absent his candidacy, that there was a gap, a vacuum in the public debate for the ideas and the principles that he espoused, namely constitutional government, genuine conservatism. When you look at the two major party candidates, Barack Obama and John McCain, you see virtually no difference between them on many of the salient issues that are very serious to our country's future. For example, illegal immigration. This is a subject that has completely fallen off the radar. Just a few months ago, it was the #1 issue in America. But of course, we know that John McCain was one who attempted to bring amnesty for illegal aliens to our country, a pathway to citizenship. It's true that he will still continue that. If he's president of the United States in 2009, we can expect that he will continue that agenda. Barack Obama, likewise, will continue that agenda. When you look at illegal immigration, amnesty for illegal aliens, etc., that whole gamut, there is virtually no difference between Barack Obama and John McCain. Chuck Baldwin has a commitment to secure our borders. The first thing I would do after I'm president is I would release Ramos and Campion from jail. I would fire U.S. Attorney Johnny Sutton, and I would seek to secure our borders. When you look at the financial bailout, $700 billion plus trillion, whatever it's going to wind up being, first of several installments, again, there's no difference between Barack Obama and John McCain. They were both on the campaign trail supporting the bailout. So tell me again, where's the difference that we see in the two major parties? There is virtually no difference. And so again, that's another reason why that I'm in the race, is to present to the American people constitutional government, a commitment to the right to life, a commitment to keep and bear arms, a commitment to the sanctity of marriage, etc., that the traditional conservative principles in constitutional government. That's why Chuck Baldwin is in the race in 2008.
Thank you, sir. Congressman Barr.
Thank you. It is a pleasure to be with you all here at the City Club in Cleveland. Unlike Senator McCain, I was not here at the very first meeting of the club, which was a number of years ago. But this is my second visit to the City Club. I had the honor of being with you all 3 years ago, almost to the day, in August of 2005. I was invited here to discuss the issues involving the USA Patriot Act and the erosion of civil liberties, not just as personified in the Patriot Act, but as a general matter in our society. We discussed at that point, at that time, 3 years ago, many of the constitutional concerns that I'm sure all of us, at least in this room, have with the tremendous unbridled growth of federal power, executive branch power, and the consequential and necessary dilution and erosion of civil liberties, of our personal liberty, as a result of that tremendous growth in government power. Yeah, I wish I could sit here today, 3 years later, and say that thanks to the wonderful, constitutionally based and sound administration of George W. Bush, we've solved those problems, that the Constitution has been placed once again front and center, that the writ of habeas corpus is being protected, that the government is no longer listening in to the private conversations of American citizens without court order, that the fiscal responsibility that used to be the hallmark of the Republican Party had once again been reasserted and reestablished in Washington. Unfortunately, it ain't so. We've had 3 more years of an administration that believes not one whit in fiscal responsibility. It has given us not only multi-trillion-dollar current year budgets, but a national debt that is well already in excess of $10 trillion. and a current year deficit that is almost $500 billion. And yet what we see in this latest election with the other two parties, the Republicans and Democrats, is simply soundbite politics, no leadership whatsoever. I suspect that in the 1 hour that we have here this evening, y'all will hear more about the Constitution than in the 6 hours of presidential and vice presidential so-called debates that we've seen with the other parties. And that's good. America wins when we talk about the Constitution, when we describe and define the differences between America's largest and oldest third party, that is the Libertarian Party that I am honored to represent, and the Republican and Democrat parties, which are simply two sides of the same coin of the realm, which is the status quo. It is an honor to be here, an honor to represent the Libertarian Party. I appreciate your interest and look forward to our debate here this evening.
Thank you very much, Congressman. Mr. Nader.
Well, thank you. This may be my third appearance here. I was here, I think, almost 40 years ago. The atmosphere was quite chilled in those days because I was going after the auto companies for not producing safe cars and cars that were fuel efficient and emission controlled. I guess there were people in the audience who didn't like that. Taking off from Bob Barr's point on the Constitution, I must say things have really gotten bad because when Bob Barr and I are on the same side dealing with civil liberties and the Constitution, I think you voted for the Patriot Act, but you had a sunset provision on it. I don't think you'd vote for it now. But just in terms of comedy and camaraderie, I'm going to put the Constitution here like this. Makes it nice. Okay?
Sure.
This is what we need to safeguard. The flag can take care of itself. This is what we need to safeguard. The big problem in politics always is excessive concentration of power and wealth in too few hands. We've seen that in Wall Street, where the first principle of capitalism was detonated by the bosses of the banks, investment banks, and brokerage houses and insurance companies, namely that shareholders who own their company do not control their company. And under first principle of capitalism is that if you own something, you should have reasonable control of it. It's the lack of control by the mutual funds, pension funds, and other investors of their bosses that allowed their bosses to engage in what the Federal Reserve Chief in Dallas, Texas, Richard Fisher, called the other day, quote, a sustained orgy of excess and speculative behavior, end quote. The second principle of capitalism, which is apparently only reserved for small business these days, is that you sink or swim based on your merits. But if you're a big enough corporation, you can say, we're too big to be allowed to fail, AIG, for example, and they go to Washington for a bailout. This not only concentrates more and more power, because you see all the acquisitions of the big fish by the bigger fish. Bank of America acquires a big company, and JP Morgan Chase acquires another failing company, but it concentrates power. And the concentration of power strips the American people in their various roles of deciding anything in public life, unless they're part of the power structure. So we have the taxpayer dollar devastated, misused, and wasted in Washington. We know plenty of that. We have consumers being ripped off by high energy prices, high drug prices, credit card gouges, etc. We have the workers, 47 million of them, 1 out of 3, not making a living wage. They make Wall Street wages, 7, 8, 9, 10, under $11 an hour. And so what we need here in politics is parties that break the grip of the two-party system, which is basically indentured to the corporate supremacists who've taken over our government.
Mr. Nader, thank you very much.